Yesterday I was talking to one of my good friends and she said, I'm 60 years old. I wish I had my life together like I did when I was younger. And I told her, that was an illusion, don't you? You didn't really have it together. You just didn't know enough to know that you didn't have it together. I think as we get older, we mature more, we become more thoughtful about our lives and how we do things and how we respond to things. I think generally we become wiser. And if we go back and really look at how our lives were before, chances are we'll say, I made some mistakes. I really wish I hadn't made those mistakes. But we were doing the best we could with what we know. As for me, my life has changed so much since 2022. I feel like a different person. I sometimes wish I could go back and live my life knowing what I know now, because I respond to things so much differently than I used to. So I've had all these challenges. I got COVID, then long COVID, and that has caused me problems. It's made my fibromyalgia worse. And then, as some of you know, I recently fell down the stairs. It was almost 2 months ago and landed on the back of my head and got a complicated mild traumatic brain injury. And for a while, I thought I was getting a little bit better, but I've had a kind of a turn for the worse. So it's been really challenging for me, but yet it's been really good for me. Before this happened, I used to pray that I would have more patience, that I would have more charity, and one of the attributes of charity is that you're long-suffering.
Charity suffereth long, and is kind. Charity envieth not. Charity vaunteth not itself, is not puffed up, doth not behave itself unseemly, seeketh not her own, is not easily provoked, thinketh no evil, rejoiceth not in iniquity, but rejoiceth in the truth, beareth all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things, endureth all things. Charity never faileth.
And I periodically would look at the attributes of charity and think, well, I'm doing okay with this one, but I really need to improve in this and this and this, and wonder how I was going to get there, never dreaming that I would have these things happen to me that would kind of school me into those things. I think about my last job, and I did well with my job, but I look back and I think of some of my strong reactions to certain situations, and I don't like the way I reacted or behaved. And I don't know that I would do that now, partially because when your head's aching, it's hard to have a strong reaction, at least it is to me. And the things that cause my head to ache are thinking a lot about things, trying to figure things out, just getting up and getting going. Sometimes I have a little bit of relief from it. But what I feel myself doing is getting calmer. In my last video, I talked about removing negativity from my life. I just simply have had to the point that sometimes my husband will get going and complaining about something and is mad about something, and I'll have to tell him, don't do that. I can't have you do that around me, because I just feel the tension so much. I do see a therapist and have for a while every other week. He once told me that I'm an empath. He says, you're like my mother. You're an empath. Because I told him that when I would walk in the building, I met him when I was still working, which is why I met him. I'd walk in the building, and as soon as I would start walking down by the rows of cubicles, it's almost like I could feel the emotions coming at me, and they would just like affect me. And when I got in my office, it was better because that wasn't around me. But it helped me with what I was doing. I was director of customer satisfaction, so I was always really concerned about people and how they were taken care of, and I would tell people things like, hey, when people really react, it's about them, not about you. and really encourage them to be kind to the customers no matter how they acted. And so that empath or empathy helped me to teach them those things. But I really pick up on how the people around me are feeling. And so I've had to make a more concerted effort on staying away from negativity. I appreciate so much hearing from you and your comments, and those of you that are following me and feel encouraged by the things that I say. You are really, really helping me. If you're new to my channel and you're kind of struggling, you might want to go back at least until 2022 so you can kind of see the journey I'm on. You might find that you really relate to those things, and you'll see kind of the up and down of the way it is. One of the things I wanted to talk about is that we need to let go of comparison and comparing ourselves to others and comparing ourselves with ourselves. As we get older, we naturally slow down. Some people don't. They're just healthy and strong and they keep going. My mother was like that. It wasn't until she got into her late 80s that she really slowed down. She was just a bundle of energy, but I'm not like my mom, and she didn't have the health challenges that I've had. And so it would be really a bad idea for me to compare myself with what my mother did or what I think I see my neighbors doing. I mean, who really knows what anybody's doing? You know, that's one bad thing about social media. And yes, I did go ahead and delete Facebook, and I don't miss it. Because when you watch it and you see people doing other things, and then it's so easy to compare yourself with, why can't I do those things? Or I wish I could go on that vacation, you know, and it just kind of creates a sense of unease. So that's one thing that I try to do on my YouTube channel. I don't want to create that sense of unease with you, and just showing you the way it is. When I can do things, we can all celebrate that I'm having a good time, but when I can't do things, then I'm going to explain that to you, because I don't want to put on a false front, and I can't put on a false front. It's not who I am, and it would be crazy for me to try to act like I can do all this stuff right now. It would set me back physically. It's just not possible for me to do that. So it'd be a really bad idea for me to look at what other people are doing and to compare myself with that, because that would make me possibly feel like I'm failing. I'm not failing. Every day I get up and I try, and I get dressed, or I do anything, or I'm kind to someone, or I try to connect with God, or anything. Those are good things. I'm not failing. I'm not failing. And chances are, I could almost guarantee you're not failing either. You're not. Just, if you're doing the best you can at any given time, you're not failing. So we need to not compare ourselves and put these really hard expectations on ourselves. And sometimes we actually get cruel to ourselves without even realizing it. And it's just because we're not listening to what we're thinking and saying and responding to ourselves enough. I'm not saying that we should try and that's all right to just not try at all. No, there are some people that don't do that. But I really, truly believe that most people are trying. Some people are not aware that they are not kind. They just feel so much self-righteousness and self-justification and anger toward anyone that they don't agree with. That could improve. I think that could improve. But if you're really working to have love in your heart towards people and treating yourself and the people around you well, and then trying to do what you can, no matter how small that is, you're not failing. You're doing well. When I was working for a company named Nobel, I belonged to this group of women, like women in business, and there was a company who wanted to be able to do training for Nobel. And so they asked those of us in this group to do like a test. And so they assigned all of us life coaches. So I had this life coach. And she was quite interesting, and I don't remember a lot of what she said. She's taught me two things that have really stuck with me and have been really, really helpful to me. So I want to pass those along to you today. And one of those is, I've been through hard times before and I can get through this too. So I'm just kind of automatic with that. When things get really hard and I start to feel kind of discouraged, that will come back to me. I've been through hard times before and I can get through this too. And it really helps. And another one is, in 5 years, I'll be 5 years older and this will all be over. Now, it's not true about some things, like I'll still have fibromyalgia, but this particular thing that I'm going through will be over. There'll probably be something else, but this one will be over. And that's really helpful when you're dealing with like financial problems or problems with your family or your kids, because things will really kind of change in 5 years. When I say that to my daughter, because she's young enough that 5 years just seems like so long, she'll be going, "Oh, that sounds terrible, 5 years, 5 years." But I'm like, it is 5 years. It's like a year or two sometimes isn't enough time. But 5 years seems to be like this really good amount of time. And then, of course, the older I get, the shorter 5 years is. I mean, you think about it, it's 2025, and the whole COVID and lockdowns happened. This is March. It was 5 years ago that happened. I don't know about you, but that whole thing kind of messed up my sense of time. And so it's really weird to think that that was 5 years ago, because in some ways it seems like it was a year ago or 2 years ago, but it was 5 years ago. And things have really changed. People's opinions about what happened and our knowledge about what happened have dramatically changed in those 5 years. And so if you think about that, then it's kind of interesting to think and kind of wonder about, well, what will have happened to me in 5 years? And if there's anything that's like particularly painful to you, like socially and everything, those things generally have changed. Or else you've become better at managing them and have become like more calmer about it. So you might want to think about that, because that's been really true for me. I'm going to show you a couple of things that I've been doing during this time. I've been reading these books. Wish I could see this on Amazon. But I've been reading the series. I have Kindle Unlimited, so I can read as many of these as I want. And there's this author, A.R. Winters. And they're like mysteries. She's down in Las Vegas, and she has this little assistant named Rosie. There are murders, but you never hear, there's no details. This is really kind of light and fluffy, and she and Rosie are really into eating desserts and cupcakes, and there's a lot of eating of food in it, and it's just like a low stress, low key, easy to read, but still very well written. I've read a lot of Kindle Unlimited books, and sometimes they're not well written, but I consider these to be well written for what they are. I liked reading them on my iPad because the print is large and there's a lot of white space. That's working out for my brain better than like on my Kindle, which is smaller. So I can read those, and it's actually a little bit better for me than watching television. I just recently got this Fuzzy Friends. This is by Vivi Tinta. They have so many of these. There's all these little funny, cute animal stuff. They'll be really easy to color because that's supposed to be good and calming and easy for your brain. So I got that. I got these pens, these markers. Haven't used them yet, but I got this nice, I'm wanting to say case. My brain's not thinking. Container. Ariel. Can't think what it is. And then I had fun sorting the colors. And so I'm going to start doing that. And this is a cookbook that I bought a while ago, and I can't wait to use. As soon as things start feeling a little bit better, it's called Busy Family. menu planning, and they have weekly menus at a glance. They have the shopping list with them, and then all the recipe, and I like how they have the photos. So like here's the week 3 weekly shopping list. 12 weeks of recipes, and they are all kind of normal type of recipes. You know what I mean by that? They don't have like fancy ingredients. And so a lot of these things I already have around the house. Look at this one. Dessert lemonade cake. That sounds good, doesn't it? Breakfast, strawberry shortcakes, puffed oven pancake. That's a Dutch baby. Oh, we love those. Our recipe is called German pancakes though, but it's about the same thing. Breakfast rice pudding, hash brown casserole, peanut butter banana muffins, and then we have lasagna, pulled pork sandwiches, chicken and dressing, taco soup. Ooh, I love taco soup. I love it. Egg roll in a bowl. And here's a dessert, German plum cake. So they all just sound like the kind of recipes that I've always made. And I like that there are 12 weeks worth, because that would be 3 months and I wouldn't have to think about what to do for 3 months. So as soon as I start feeling a little bit better, I think I'm going to start working my way through this cookbook. So I got it on Amazon, and it's by Susanna Anderson. But if you find yourself relating to any of the things I talk about or to me, you might want to think about subscribing. And if you just don't, I understand. It's okay. It's okay. I love you guys so much. You just don't know. You mean so much to me, and your comments and your support and your views and your likes, and it means so much to me because I am really isolated. Just to know all of you, I will see you next week, and here's a video that YouTube feels that you'll really enjoy. Bye.